guys, it's Yuno, and I got our first mastering series tutorial today. And today I'm mostly going to talk about sort of general topics on mastering. But I'm going to start with talking about the history of mastering, why we master, and sort of the difference between a mastered song and an unmastered song. So to begin with, I'm not going to show too much on the screen until a couple minutes in here. But to begin with, mastering is a form of audio post-production, which means it occurs after you're done recording, tracking, and for the most part mixing. And the original uses for mastering was to get a song on a certain medium onto another medium that you're gonna mass produce for the public to hear. For instance, back in the day they used to record everything on tape, and then they'd try to transfer it over onto vinyl. And back then those were really high paying jobs because they were really technical, required a lot of technical skills and know-how. So yeah, that was back then. Nowadays, we sort of think of mastering as mostly making your song or album sound good on all possible playback systems, like different kinds of speakers, whether it's your iPhone headphones or earbuds, or it's your car stereo, it's your laptop speakers. You want the public to be able to listen to it on as many different kinds of speakers as possible. That way you keep everyone happy. More people may end up liking it. And it's also to maximize the sonic qualities of a song. I use a lot of saturation on my masters. I usually oversample just to kind of almost give that old analog type feel. They did that back in the old days as well, but that's the main thing that we focus on nowadays. Also, mastering is an attempt to cover up any quantization distortion. You can read more about that in Wikipedia or Google. I'm going to leave a link in the description. But essentially, Dither will fix that. And then also you want to avoid intermodulation distortion, which happens with it happens in analog systems as well, but it also happens especially in digital workstations as well. And that occurs basically when you put one compressor after another, a compressor that has some kind of coloring to it. And you'd think that the added harmonics of the first one would just be magnified by the second one, but actually the second one generates random noise. It's very faint usually, but if you keep running something through a sort of feedback style, colorful character type of compression, you're going to end up with a lot of noise that has nothing to do with the music going into it. So that's enough for right now of the technical stuff. Let's listen to a song before and after it's been mastered. I'll tell you a little bit about the tools I use as well afterwards. Here's the before. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it up a little bit so that there isn't too much of a difference between the mastered one and the non-mastered one. I'm going to turn on all the tools now that we used for mastering, all the plugins. Right, and I'll preface this by saying sounds like there's a little bit too much bass there. It's because the studio monitors are a little bit higher than usual compared to the mic here, so you might hear a little bit more bass than usual. It is a bass-heavy track, but I did do a little bit of limiting on it to prevent any sort of uncomfortable sounds from the listener. So you can tell there's quite a bit of difference there in terms of loudness, but that's not the important part. In fact, I'm going to turn off the limiter here. You can tell there are some subtle differences, especially in the mid-range, because I did add a little bit with this SSL styled EQ by Waves. Very solid VST. I recommend it to anyone who wants a really character type of compression or equalization. Then I also use Ozone quite often. Ozone is a very powerful digital mastering suite, I think they call it. I think it gets kind of a bad rap usually for a lot of amateurs not knowing how to use it, just using presets. But if you know how to use each of the modules down here, it could be quite a bit of usefulness for you, and it's really really an invaluable tool. I actually use most of the modules, the advanced modules, individually on different parts of my mix, and it really brings out certain aspects of it. Like the excitement I use on a lot of synths actually, as sort of a subtle coloration distortion to make everything stand out. You can see I also use Fruity Center. Another key thing with mastering is you want to avoid any DC offset. So Fruity Center basically takes care of that before it goes through my chain, and then at the very end as well, before the limiter, they also have a DC filter switch in Ozone, and again, very good, like it a lot. The main thing with mastering, as far as getting the balances right, it's all about your room. If you have a tuned room, you should be able to master your own tunes and master other people's tunes, and with some experience you could really get some good results. With if you don't have a tuned room, it can be kind of difficult to get a good master, and you should just hand it off to a friend or somebody else out there who's a more experienced masterer, and give it to them to do the dirty work. So last thing I'm going to mention, I mentioned dither earlier. Dither you should only do at the very last step of mastering. For instance, right now, this file right here, I talked to the producer, has not been dithered, which is ideal. You don't want any dithering going on until it gets to the final part of your chain. And you can see here in Ozone, I do have their mbit plus dither going on for 16 bits, because the producer wants it in standard CD format, which is 16 bits, 44.1 kilohertz. So basically, every time you go down in bit depth from a higher to a lower, say 32 to 16, or 16 to 8, 16 to 12, there's some sort of quantization distortion at really low levels that goes on, and to minimize that, you add some dither. It's not just random noise, it's a little bit, it's very soft and very very quiet, but it's highly calculated noise that's supposed to take care of all of that. And from what I hear, mbit is probably one of the better ones. I prefer it myself over FL Studio's default one. Okay, so that's the first episode of our mastering series. Catch us next time. I'm going to be talking more about excitement and